Hey guys, it's RodimusPrimal. I am back with another video, and today I am going to give you guys my review for the first part of Season 3 of Transformers Cyberverse. And it's been airing for a little while, but I wanted to wait until at least, some of the episodes have started to come out here in the US before I gave you guys my reviews, and I'm breaking it down to multiple parts for this reason. So I've got a lot to talk about, so sit back, relax, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and let's transform and roll out. Consider supporting the channel on Patreon or becoming a channel member today. Okay, so what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to give you guys my my opinions about the episodes and about how it's all broken down, and then I'll give you guys a little bit of spoiler review before I move on to anything else. Now, for those of you who are wondering, yes, you can watch at least the first I think it's like 9 episodes right now are available on YouTube's channel, at least here in the US. I know that some people are watching it through other means, or whether they watch it on like some other websites, or maybe they are seeing it on the Cartoon Network app or whatever. But this particular review is for the first 4 episodes. And the reason why I'm doing the first 4 episodes as a review instead of doing all of Season 3 is because this is kind of like the conclusion, in my opinion, of everything that happened in Season 1 and Season 2. Season 2, there was a huge gap. And if you saw that review, I talked about it, how there was like a large gap in between Season 1 and Season 2. But here at Season 3, they open up with this 4-parter, and it's the conclusion of that story. Because where we leave off is that, the Autobots are heading back to Cybertron, and this is the battle for Cybertron is the name of these first 4 episodes. And it is pretty much the Autobots arrive on Cybertron, and they battle to save Cybertron, and that is pretty much it in a nutshell. Now, the thing is, of course, it's still that 10-minute episode, format. But if you break down all 4 parts of the show into one story and actually watch it like back to back, it does feel like almost like a movie in the way that they actually present it, so you can watch it like as a full episode, and it does work as a condensed story, and they do a pretty good job. I actually enjoyed the opener as one story. I don't particularly like it that it was broken down into 4 episodes, especially for the fact that all 4 episodes are in only 10 minutes long, and the stories had to be condensed so much. This really was like one story told over 4 episodes, but really I would venture to say it was actually like 2 episodes, at full length. You actually break it down properly. So did I enjoy it? Yeah, I actually did. I actually enjoyed it. There were some parts of it that I was kind of like, this is kind of cheesy. It kind of feels a little off. But they gave every single character that they could a little bit of moment. And they had, every Autobot and Decepticon. They actually seemed that they introduced, I think, 2 more Decepticons that I will get into when I talk a little bit more in the spoiler part. And they also seemed to gave a little bit of surprise in places that I did not expect surprises to come from, that I was actually pleasantly surprised with this show. I still don't care for the voice acting. I still think that I don't care for I think it's Jake Fushi's Optimus Prime. I feel like it's kind of like he's doing an impression of movieverse Peter Cullen giving the speeches and not much else. And I don't care for the way his pronunciation on certain things. I don't like how he says Teletron 1 instead of Teletran 1. It's just one of the things that I've never been a fan of. I think that they need to learn how to pronounce certain things within the Transformers series properly, and people get on me about how I pronounce certain things. So I think just as much, I think we can get on the actual voice actors and showrunners about how to pronounce some of these names correctly. It's something that when I gave my reviews for Season 1 and Season 2, that everybody was like, oh, you didn't really talk about the whole thing with with how they're pronouncing it. And I was like, yeah, I kind of missed that, but that is something that did get at me. It kind of was like nails on a chalkboard when you hear it, especially when you're a longtime Transformers fan. The one thing I will say, and again, without getting into the spoiler territory yet, is that the show still does feel like a Happy Meal version of, you know, previous Transformers series. So it is really like hitting that target demographic of, you know, seems to be like the younger Transformers fan, and the adult fans can enjoy some things and other adult fans are just kind of like like they can take it or leave it. But from what we've been told, Season 3 is the last season of the show, so I look forward to seeing how they conclude the rest of the season, but at the same time, I kind of want a little bit more. There needs to be a little bit of balance. Like, Cyberverse feels like the Happy Meal, very much like I'm 50-50 with it, you know? It's like I enjoyed it, but it could be better. And that's pretty much all of Cyberverse in a nutshell. That's at least my spoiler section, so let's actually get into the spoiler parts of this show, the things that surprised me, and everything. So again, I'm getting into spoilers, so if you have not seen the first 4 episodes of Season 3, and you don't want to be spoiled, then please go ahead and watch it and then come back to this point here in the video. Now, when the actual arc comes to Cybertron, it ends up getting destroyed. Shockwave actually uses like this laser catch thing, and they actually destroy it. And I was surprised that they took enough courage to destroy it. Now, in G1, they did have Trypticon destroy the Ark. You know, at the end of the 5 Faces of Darkness, Part 5, you know, pretty much 5 Faces of Darkness Part 5 is where Trypticon came and he destroyed the Ark. You know, so this is kind of like actually surprising that they came to Cybertron and it ends up getting destroyed. But Teletran X still survives, and he actually plays an integral part into helping Windblade in the, you know, her quest is that they were actually going to they actually destroyed Vector Sigma, which was kind of odd and weird at the same time, and they ended up killing Bludgeon. So it was kind of like odd that they did that. I was okay with the fact that they had like Windblade and Bludgeon had a final battle, and since Bludgeon and Soundwave were responsible for Slipstream's death, it was actually good to see Windblade, you know, have like her moment, because Windblade was shoved to the side in Season 2, so this actually gave her a little bit more showtime, which she deserved because she was a big part of Season 1. But every single character had a little bit of moment. You had Ratchet fixing someone, and he actually has like a force field to prevent himself from getting blasted while repairing. You know, Soundwave uses Laserbeak, which was awesome. Seeing Laserbeak like actually used as a spy was cool. Prowl does the first charge with the Autobots. You know, Optimus uses his like weird Energon shield. I think it's the Matrix shield. It's supposed to be kind of like they were giving a visual representation as to how Optimus is able to use the Matrix to, you know, have a shield when, you know, ramming into battle. I guess like that was like their way of doing it. It probably explains, like, if you go back like retroactively look at like G1, you know, if you notice that like Optimus Prime, the first time he faces off against Megatron, you know, Megatron shoots at him and it like bounces off. I'm pretty much look at that as like that was like Matrix shield in G1 context. And I would say the same thing probably about like Matrix shield with Galvatron shooting Rodimus Prime in Transformers the movie. So looking at it that way, the whole shield thing, that's probably the best way to look at it. Now, it was also great to see like every single character. I said Grimlock, RC. I took note that they name drop Skywarp, but you don't see him or her. Apparently, some people have been telling me that it's a she on screen. You know, apparently like Skywarp is supposed to show up, but you never actually see her. Now, Dead End is another character that they showed on screen, and you got to see him as well, but he didn't really have, I don't think he really had any speaking lines except for the fact that he was in battle. And they're all fighting right in the entrance to where the Well of All Sparks is supposed to be. And then there's Scraplets that are actually like guarding, you know, the entryway. And so Hot Rod leads Bumblebee and Cheetor down into the depths of Cybertron to get to the Well of All Sparks, and the whole quest to get there gets circumvented, of course, by Drift. Now, if you saw, like in Season 1 and Season 2, Drift was Deadlock, just like he was in the IDW comics, and ends up becoming Drift, and joining the Autobots. But here now, the surprise was that Drift was a traitor all along, which is kind of weird because there was no setup for it except for in this particular episode. There was no, like, you know, drop, like seed droppings in season 2. It was just, all of a sudden he's there and he's red eyes, when you first see him before they land on Cybertron, and then he's got blue eyes on the battlefield, and then he turns red eyes again and turns into a Decepticon. So Drift was always a traitor. It's a surprise, it's a shock for sure, but there was no setup for it, and I think that was where like the payoff kind of like failed for me in a way. And it's also because Drift is another IDW character that some people are not very familiar with, except for maybe like if they've seen Drift in other series, like, and it's not against me. It's like, in other words, other Transformers fans who are only familiar with, the character in other places, they don't know that he was once a Decepticon turned Autobot. The Cyberverse didn't do a good job of explaining that in a, except for like in little tidbits here and there. So, and that really comes to the fault of the fact that the show was only a 10-minute runtime. And I've been going on about that for quite some time, but it really like goes to show you, like, they want to give you a lot of storytelling, but the storytelling falls in the fact that a lot of story elements are like removed from the episodes, and that really is the fault of the runtime of the show. Again, as far as a one unified story, it worked, and it worked really well. The other really cool thing was Perceptor and Chromia. They have a little bit of showtime as well. I liked how Perceptor actually used like a reflection thing to free both Chromia and Perceptor, but he blew out his eyes, so now he's blind and he can't see. And we get to see the two of them like actually in action, being able to do a lot more than they could before. And I'm disappointed that Perceptor didn't get much more showtime than that, and we also don't get to see him transform. But we do get to see Chromia in action, and actually is well done in respect to the fact that it was her message at the end of season 2, and she wants to save all the Autobots, but she's captured. So it was cool how they used her and her story along with Perceptor. And then Hot Rod ends up facing off against Drift, and they end up both dying by falling into toxic waste. Now, I've seen at the end of like when I've seen up to like about episode 8 or 9, somewhere around there myself, so I do know that it's possible that Hot Rod is still alive, but he's in black. So I want to know how he ended up surviving, because if you just watch it from the perspective of the fact that him and Drift fall into the toxic energon pool, you want to know how in the world did he survive, because as far as storytelling is concerned, you're just told that he's dead. And I want to know how he lived. I'm still like left in the dark when it comes down to that. So maybe I need to go rewatch the rest of season 3 as it comes out again before doing the next part of the review. And then Cheetor and Shockwave both end up dying because they use a spark extractor. Like Shockwave uses it to corrupt the Allspark, and then Cheetor sacrifices himself to cleanse the Allspark, and it ends up reviving Cybertron. And then Megatron ends up getting killed by Scraplets. So that's really it. The story in a nutshell is that it's just like an epic battle on Cybertron outside of the Well of All, the entryway to the Well of All Sparks. They end up destroying Vector Sigma, and all of the Autobots and Decepticons have this epic battle, and it's cool. It's really cool to see. I actually enjoyed it. I think it was a lot of fun. There was a lot of story elements missing, but at the same time, it delivered on what the end of season 2 left me off with. Like, the end of season 2 felt like it was like an incomplete story. Like, if it's a 26 episode series and you've watched up till episode 22, and then you have to wait like months before you see the final 4 episodes of a season, that's how I felt how Return of Cybertron parts 1 through 4, storytelling wise, was. It was the ending to season 2. That's the best way that I can look at it. Like, if they never ever made another episode after Return to Cybertron and just left the show there, then that would be the end of Cyberverse. But we know that the rest of season 3 is coming out, or it's being aired like weekly. Some people have seen all the way till the end, and some people are telling me that like, oh, you gotta wait until you see the whole way the way it ends. I'm gonna of course wait until it all airs before I'm gonna go through all of the different story arcs you know, in these parts like this. But I want to know what you guys think of Transformers Cyberverse Season 3. Have you seen the whole thing so far? Of course, don't go into too many spoilers. Just talk about, of course, the return to Cybertron and all of that, but leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Like I said, I have some toy reviews that I'm working on, and I'm also going to be working on some more Transformers discussion videos, and I'm going to be revisiting some of my older Transformers discussions. So, you know, if you want to, you know, stay tuned for that. Of course, click on the bell to make sure that you're notified whenever I release a new video, and check me out on social media: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Of course, if you want to help support the channel, be sure to become a channel member or become a patron through Patreon, because I gotta give my thanks to my patrons and my channel members who have supported the channel so far, and I'm hoping by the end of this year that we come out stronger, you know, all of us, not just, you know, my YouTube channel, but us as people, and that we come together and we're able to enjoy a lot of this cool stuff and see like awesome cartoons and toys and everything else coming down, because the world is, you know, falling apart by the wayside, but, you know, at least we can try and find some positivity and staying together as much as we possibly can, because we can get through this. But be sure to thumbs up this video, subscribe, and check out my other videos as well. And as always, guys, until next time, till all are one.